Welcome to this video on paragraph flow. According to Brick et al., achieving flow in your argument means word chains throughout your text and managing the flow of given and new information. In particular, word chains operate to link the introduction to the topic sentences in the subsequent paragraphs. They also operate within paragraphs. Managing given and new information typically occurs within paragraphs. Flow can be seen as a coherence aspect of the four qualities of well-written paragraphs identified by Hudson and Leclerc. Word chains are word repetitions and relationships between words. They express the focus and topics of the text. They're the words you use for the themes or sort of things that you're talking about. They tend to cluster into subtopics at paragraph level, but they also cluster in strategic places in the text, such as in introductions and conclusions. So we can see this if we return to the fuels of the body text and look at the word chains for carbohydrates. So we can see carbohydrates here, repeated here, and referred to with this pronoun here. And glucose is the type of carbohydrate. So is glycogen, blood sugar, glycogen, glucose, carbohydrate again, glycogen again, and finally carbohydrates. So not surprisingly, most of the word chains around carbohydrates cluster in the paragraph that is on carbohydrates. We can also see a relationship between carbohydrates and fuels of the body, as in a carbohydrate is one of the three, and this idea of fuels is then picked up in the energy word chain. Similarly with the fats word chain, introduced in the first paragraph, picked up in the topic sentence of the fats paragraph, referred to with the pronoun they, fat again, fat again, fat again here. Again, not surprisingly, reference to fat is clustered in the fats paragraph, and the relationship between fats as one of the three fuels of the body and an energy source is picked up again here. And again with the proteins word chain. So proteins picked up in topic sentence of the proteins paragraph, clustered around the proteins paragraph, proteins, pronoun, another pronoun, protein, another pronoun, proteins again. And amino acids is a form of protein. So pause the video and see if you can identify the word chain for sounds in this text with the introductory paragraph of our example summary and then the topic sentences of the first two paragraphs. So you can see the word chain clusters in the opening in the introductory paragraph to tell us that this is what the text is going to be about. The word chains are also picked up in the topic sentences of the two paragraphs to reorientate us to the topic of the text. You may have been tempted to include the word acoustic as it being another word for sound, and this would have been okay to do. What other potential word chains do you think this text has in it? For example, we think of something like the word study. Because this is an exploration of literature, this kind of word chain is likely to come up through the text. So, for example, it's picked up down here in the topic sentence of the third paragraph. Theme and rhyme relates to management of given and new information, and is also a way we use to achieve coherence or flow in our writing, particularly within paragraphs. So in English, what comes first in the sentence or the clause is important. We call this element a theme, and it can be identified as the theme that comes first or before the verb. The rest of the sentence is referred to as the rhyme. So therefore every sentence consists of a theme and then a rhyme. So when we use the word theme here, we're using it in a very specific technical way that is only relevant in this context. There's a specific meaning. We're not using a general sense of the word theme, as in what was the theme of the play. We're contrasting theme with rhyme with sentence and clause structure in English. So here's an example of a paragraph that's been broken down into sentences and clauses, and we can identify theme at the beginning of each one. So in item 1, it's the impetus for CBT. So here's the verb, and the theme is a bit before the verb. Example 2, example 3, 4, 5, and 6 is a longer, more complicated example. So the key thing about themes is that they can be used to tell us what the paragraph is about. So particularly in this example, the theme of the first and last sentence will really sum up what the whole paragraph is talking about. This is a more complex example from some student writing. So what we basically have here is the introductory paragraph of an essay, and we have two versions. So we have the first version here, which is a draft version, and the second version here, which is the version that was finally submitted. The themes have been identified in red, and if you look at them in turn, you can see that whilst we can identify the themes here, actually not that useful in telling us what the text is about. It's not until we get down to animes right at the end that we begin to think the text is about animes. In contrast, the themes in the edited version are much more helpful. So here we can see that the text is going to be an essay. We can tell by these themes that they've got much more information in them, so we know that the essay is going to discuss complexities. From the next theme, we know that the text is going to be about the environment and human. And in the final theme, although animes is introduced for the first time, we have a better sense of why it's been introduced and why it's going to be discussed in this essay. So choice of theme, and so theme and rhyme, is closely related to management of information in text, because theme and rhyme tend to correlate with given and new. So paragraph development and cohesive language are achieved through following the pattern of given to new information, moving from your theme, which is the given, and the rhyme, which tends to express the new information. So just as we saw in our theme analysis, the given information or the theme orientates the reader, but then the new information progresses the conversation or the discussion. So here's a very simple example from the Fuels of the Body text. So the theme of the first sentence is taken from the title of the text itself, which is the Fuels of the Body. And then the theme of the second sentence is taken from the rhyme of the first sentence. So you can see a flow here from rhyme to new theme. And then in the third sentence, it's basically the same theme as the second sentence with a pronominal reference between the two. So we can also map this thematic progression in the introduction paragraph for the anime essay. So the first sentence, the theme is this essay, so that serves to orientate the reader. And then for the second and third sentence, the themes are picked up from the rhyme of the first sentence. So the first sentence introduces the idea of two complexities in the rhyme, and these are picked up in the theme of sentence 1, sentence 2, and sentence 3. For the fourth sentence, the theme is about the environment and humans, and naturally this comes from two rhymes. So the rhyme here, the second sentence, and the rhyme here in the third sentence. So in the fifth and final sentence in the introduction, the rhyme here comes from the theme of the fourth sentence, and it's elaborated on here. So the point of doing this analysis is showing you how thematic progression works and improves the development and coherence of your paragraphs, is that you can apply this to your own writing. So whenever you're writing, part of the editing process should be to look at the theme of every single sentence in your paragraph and make sure it's obvious where that theme comes from. The theme shouldn't be new or unexpected, because if it is, then your reader won't be able to follow your argument. You probably noticed in the anime introduction, the word thus is used in the fifth sentence, the last sentence in the paragraph, to make or express the relationship between that sentence and the rest of the paragraph. So this is what linking words do. They express the logical relationships between ideas in paragraphs, either across sentences or within a sentence, and they really add to the readability of the paragraph. So they're signposts for the reader. So in the anime example, it was a signpost to the reader that we were getting to a conclusion and explain why we were just suddenly talking about animes, or the role of animes in the argument. So linking words are often used at the beginning of sentences and clauses, and so in that way they're a kind of theme, and that just shows how important they are in the readability of your text. So this table shows different linking relationships and words that you can use to express them. Using the right linking words is very important to accurately express your understanding of the relationships between ideas. We've come across some of these words before when we've talked about the language of similarity and difference. Have a look through read through the linking words and consider whether you use a good range of them. Are there some you always use and some you never use? Do you think you might be relying too much on a narrow range of linking words when you need to extend your use to other relationships? To test your understanding of thematic progression, pause the video and map the thematic progression in the CBT paragraph. Did you map the progression like this? Because we don't have the whole text, we don't know where the theme of the first sentence comes from. It probably comes from the title or the introductory paragraph. But we can see that the theme of the second and third sentence come from the reme of the first sentence. So in this way, we can see the writer has told us what they are going to talk about, the two sources, and then they talk about each of the two sources in turn. This theme here is a clause theme. It comes from the reme of the previous clause in the same sentence. Here is a pronominal reference to the same thing, youth unemployment. This pattern of progression is repeated in the third and fourth sentences, in that the theme of the fourth sentence is picked up from the reme of the third sentence. So this is a pronominal reference to Australia's competitiveness. And finally, the theme of the last sentence refers to CBT, so that's taken directly from the theme of the first sentence. So in this way, the concluding sentence and the topic sentence serve to be the beginning and end of the paragraph. So text and paragraph flow and coherence can be achieved through the use of word chains and the selection of themes. We can use these resources and techniques in our own writing to make sure our reader can follow our argument